A 19-year-old Eufaula man is facing multiple charges after investigators identified remains found earlier this month as a missing Eufaula resident.
There is a moment in every investigation when the silence finally breaks, when the waiting, the agonizing, grinding, grief-soaked waiting, turns into something else. For the Rumph family, that moment arrived 23 days after they found their son in the Alabama woods. Someone is in custody. Someone is facing charges. And for the first time since the night of May 6, 2026, the weight of what happened to Markavious Rumph Jr. has a name attached to it. But before I give you that name, I need you to come back to one image. Not a courtroom, not a press release. A mother in the rain on Mother's Day, walking through the Alabama woods, calling out her son's name. Nobody sent her. Nobody guided her. No search team. No law enforcement escort. Just Yolanda Wynn and the absolute refusal to stop looking. The image is the emotional spine of everything that follows in this video. Because the arrest you are about to hear about did not begin when the DNA results came back. It began the same moment that mother decided she was not going to wait.
They got to pay all I'm going to pay. Everybody that's involved, I want them to pay for my son. Everybody that's involved, go pay for my son. Everybody that's involved, go pay for my son. Everybody.
From breaking stories to the facts that matter most, this is D Unbelievable.
The person now in custody is 19 years old. His name, according to the Eufaula Police Department, confirmed by WRBL News and WTVM News Leader 9, is Josiah Isaiah McKinney. He is from Eufaula, Alabama, the same city as Markavious, the same streets, the same world. He has been charged with murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. And what those three charges together are telling us is a story that goes far beyond a single arrest headline. If you have been with us from the beginning of this case, you already know who Markavious was. But for anyone arriving at this story for the first time, this is what you need to hold before the investigation begins. Markavious Dewayne Rumph Jr. was 18 years old. He had accepted Christ while attending the YouthBuild Program at Wallace Community College. He had earned his GED. He was enrolled to attend welding school. He was building something, deliberately and with real effort. His family called him man. His father said he was the life of the party, that he was gonna make you laugh. His mother said something that I keep coming back to, because it tells you exactly who this young man was in the final chapter of his life. Everybody makes mistakes. But if God gives you enough time to change it, and he did that. That's why he graduated and did everything that he did. He had changed. He had chosen a harder road. He was on his way. On the night of May 6, 2026, Markavious Rumph was last seen at a gas station in Eufaula, stepping into a black Nissan with someone he knew. He never came home. For 5 days, his family searched those woods, through rain, through Mother's Day, through the kind of fear that has no name, until they found him near White Oak Church Road in Barbour County, shot, dismembered, burned by someone, investigators now allege, who spent additional deliberate time trying to make sure there would be nothing left to find. They failed because his mother refused to stop walking. Here is what most coverage is not telling you about how this arrest was built. The public story, the one this family lived, was of a department that was not showing up. And that story is real. Yolanda Wynn's words are documented, on record, undisputed. I looked for 5 days for my son, with no help from the Eufaula Police Department.
I looked for 5 days for my son with no help from the Eufaula Police Department. No help.
But underneath the surface, according to the official EPD press release confirmed by Chief Danny Christ, A parallel investigation was already running. Detectives made contact with Markavious's parents on day one, building timelines, mapping his last known movements, identifying every person who might know what had happened after he got into that black Nissan. 2 tracks, simultaneously, one visible to the world, the family searching, one invisible, investigators following the evidence. And then something happened on the second day of the investigation that changed the direction of the entire case. Investigators say they recovered what Chief Christ would later call significant evidence. A vehicle was seized, a black Chevrolet Tahoe. Inside, a shovel. On that shovel, forensic traces of blood. Now, here is the investigative reality that most people do not consider. Physical evidence alone does not automatically win a murder case. Investigators still have to prove that the evidence is reliable, properly collected, and connected to a confirmed victim. So investigators made a deliberate decision. They would not move until the case was what Chief Christ called rock solid. Every interview conducted in the weeks that followed, every additional connection documented between the evidence and the remains, every layer carefully added to the file was another brick in a case investigators believe would be far harder to challenge in court. Chief Christ said it himself. On occasion, the need for information by the public is outweighed by the integrity of an investigation. They were quiet because they were working, interview by interview, evidence piece by evidence piece. And what they were waiting for was one thing. On May 29, 2026, the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences delivered its official conclusion. The remains recovered from White Oak Church Road on May 11 were positively identified as those of Markavious Rumph Jr. That confirmation was the final key. The forensic standstill was over. The DNA had spoken. The significant evidence from day 2 now had a confirmed victim at its center. The warrants were signed, and within hours, Josiah Isaiah McKinney was in custody. 3 weeks ago, this was a missing person case. Tonight, it is a homicide prosecution with a named defendant facing multiple felony charges. That is how dramatically this investigation has changed in less than a month. Now let's talk about the 3 charges, because there is one detail hidden inside these charges that may tell us more about what investigators believe happened after Markavious was killed. And surprisingly, it isn't the murder charge. It's the other 2. Most coverage simply lists the charges and moves on. I want to slow down for a moment, because each charge appears to describe a different alleged stage of what happened to Markavious. Murder, the first charge, under Alabama law means the defendant allegedly caused the death of Markavious Rumph with intent. Not accident, not recklessness, intent. Abuse of a corpse, the second charge, describes what investigators allege happened to Markavious after he was killed. Under Alabama law, this involves the unlawful treatment of human remains, the dismemberment. This charge does not appear in most homicide cases. Its presence here is a specific legal statement about the level of deliberate violence allegedly involved. Tampering with physical evidence, the third charge, describes the burning, the alleged systematic destruction of forensic traces. Under Alabama law, this means allegedly altering, destroying, or concealing evidence with the intent to impair an investigation. Together, these 3 charges do not describe an impulsive act. According to investigators, they describe a sequence: kill, conceal, destroy. A deliberate plan to make an 18-year-old with welding school on his mind disappear permanently from the record of the world. It almost worked. For 4 days, it almost worked. I want to stop the narrative right here, because there is one detail in this case that completely changed how I looked at this investigation. And surprisingly, it isn't the arrest. It isn't the DNA, and it isn't even the shovel. It's the timing. Once you see it, you won't be able to look at this case the same way again. Chief Danny Christ confirmed publicly that significant evidence was recovered on day 2 of this investigation. Day 2. That is not day 23, when the DNA came back. That is not day 11, when the family found the remains. Day 2. 48 hours after Markavious was reported missing, which means while Markavious' family was in the woods on day 3, day 4, day 5, while Yolanda Wynn was on her knees in the Alabama mud on Mother's Day, a vehicle connected by investigators to significant forensic evidence in her son's disappearance was already in police custody. She did not know. Now, I want to be precise here. There is a legitimate legal reason why investigators do not release active forensic evidence during an ongoing investigation. We have walked through that argument. It is sound. An early disclosure could have compromised the arrest, could have given a defense attorney the gap needed to challenge the entire case. The strategy that led to this arrest is legally defensible. But here is the question I cannot stop sitting with. Is there a version of this investigation where the integrity of the case is protected and a grieving mother is not left to search alone, not knowing that evidence of what happened to her son was already in a police evidence locker? I do not know the answer. I do not think it is a simple one, but I think it is the most important question this case has produced, and I think it deserves an honest answer from this community, not deflection, not outrage, not defense, an honest one. Drop it in the comments. We will come back to it at the end. If you have been following this case from the beginning, subscribe and turn on the bell, because what comes next, the court filings, the hearings, the discovery process, is going to reveal more of this story than we have seen yet. And you need to be here when it does. 1 arrest, 3 charges, an active investigation. That last phrase, active investigation, is doing more work than it appears to. When law enforcement announces an arrest and simultaneously confirms that additional interviews are still being conducted, that is not a formality. Investigations do not stay active after an arrest unless there is more story to find. And the original EPD statement used a specific word. Suspects, plural. 1 arrest has been made. The plural has not yet been resolved. The Rumph family stated from the beginning that they believe multiple people known to Markavious were involved. That belief has not been officially confirmed or denied, and the ongoing interviews suggest investigators may not finish building the full picture of what happened on the night of May 6th. The second open question is motive. No motive has been publicly released. No charging document narrative. We do not yet know, officially, what brought Josiah McKinney and Markavious Rumph to the same moment in the same woods. What was said? What was agreed to? What went wrong? Or what was planned from the beginning? That chapter exists. It lives inside the investigation file, inside the interviews, inside whatever evidence was recovered on day 2 and in the weeks that followed. The public will not see it until charging documents are filed, discovery begins, or this case goes to trial. And the court timeline itself is the third open question. McKinney has been charged. He has not been arraigned publicly on record. He has not entered a plea. He has not been tried. He has not been convicted. He is, under the American legal system, presumed innocent until a jury of his peers or a judge determines otherwise. What comes next? Arraignment, preliminary hearings, potential grand jury proceedings, discovery, and either a plea or a full trial will unfold over months, possibly longer. Each step will release new information. Each step will bring us closer to the full truth of what happened. We will be here for every single one. Behind every charging document, there is a family, Yolanda Wynn, who walked those woods when nobody came, who found her son in a state that no mother should ever have to witness, who stood in front of cameras and said, "I want everybody that's involved to pay," with the kind of clarity that only comes from the deepest possible grief. Markavious Rumph, who described what had been done to his child in words that should never have to exist in any parent's vocabulary. A community in Eufaula that volunteered, searched, grieved publicly, and demanded accountability when the system seemed to be standing still. An arrest is not justice. Justice is what happens after the arrest, in courtrooms, through evidence, through testimony, through the full and unsparing examination of what investigators say occurred on the night of May 6, 2026. But an arrest is the system saying, this person mattered, for a family that had to fight to be heard, that had to build their own search party to find their own son. That statement, even arriving 23 days later, carries weight. Markavious was 18 years old. He had chosen a better road. He had earned the right to walk it. He was affectionately known as Man, and everything that nickname implied. His family saw in him every single day. An athlete, a prankster.
You the type I like, mama.
A son who made every room louder just by walking in. He deserved the future he had planned, and the people who allegedly took it from him will now face the full weight of the Alabama legal system. Yolanda Wynn is not done watching. Markavious Rumph is not done watching. This channel is not done watching. Here is exactly where this case stands right now. Josiah Isaiah McKinney, 19 years old, Eufaula, Alabama, is in custody charged with murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. These are allegations. He has not been convicted. The legal process is beginning. The Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences has officially confirmed the remains as Markavious Rumph Jr. That confirmation is the forensic foundation of the entire case. The investigation remains active. Additional interviews are ongoing. The possibility of further developments, additional arrests, new evidence, new charges has not been ruled out. The case now enters the Alabama court system. What unfolds next? Arraignment, hearings, potential trial will happen over weeks and months, and it will answer questions we do not yet have answers to. We will cover every step, every court date, every filing, every development. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because the next chapter of this case begins the moment McKinney's first court appearance is scheduled. Before you go, I told you earlier that I would come back to the question I asked you to sit with. Investigators had what they called significant evidence on day 2. A vehicle, a shovel, blood, while the Rumph family, not knowing any of that, spent 3 more days in the woods, on Mother's Day, in the rain. The legal case for keeping that information private is real. The arrest that resulted is built on a foundation that is significantly harder to challenge in court because of it. But I want to ask you something more specific than whether the strategy was right. If you were Yolanda Wynn and you found out, after the arrest, that evidence had existed since day 2, what would you need to hear from law enforcement to feel that the system had still treated your son and your family with the dignity they deserve? That is the question. Drop your answer in the comments. This conversation matters. This family deserves a community that thinks carefully about what justice actually looks like. Not just who is charged, but how the people left behind are treated in the process. For Markavious, for his family, for every person who followed this story from the beginning and refused to look away, we are not done. In memory of Markavious Dewayne Rumph Jr., December 14, 2007, May 7, 2026, known as Man, prankster, athlete, son, a young man who chose a better road. Everybody makes mistakes. But if God gives you enough time to change it, and He did that, Yolanda Wynn, his mother, rest in power. Justice will be served.